So we have enough number of people on board. Okay. So I hope the non-integrated students have also joined in. It doesn't seem to be the case. Okay. So maybe non-integrated students will be joining after a while. Anyhow, so let's start. So yeah, I'm just going through the PDF of the last lecture. Okay, so let's quickly review the things that we had discussed. Right. So what we had discussed in the previous lecture about interference, superposition of waves. Okay, so let's quickly review that idea and then we'll move on ahead from there. Just have to bear with me for a moment. I'm sometimes struggling a little bit with this. Yeah, okay. Should be back. Okay. Right. So we were talking about interference of waves. So what we learned in interference of transverse mechanical waves is that if we have two waves which are of same frequency traveling in the same direction, so the essential condition is that the two waves that are superimposing, for interference to happen, they should have equal frequency and they should be traveling in the same direction. In that case, their superposition results in interference. Okay. So if we have one wave given by this, let's say, okay, and another wave, so it has a frequency equal to omega by 2 pi, okay, and of course k equal to 2 pi by lambda, where v is equal to f lambda, and that v is dependent on the strings properties as per this formula as we have seen before. Okay. So if the second wave is propagating through the same string, so it has the same v, Okay, and it is from a source which has the same frequency, so it should have the same value of omega. In that case, its wave equation in general can be any amplitude, but into sine of same omega because it is of same frequency, same k therefore. Okay, and again minus kx because it's traveling in the same direction, but it can have any phase relation with respect to the first one. So as we had seen, the important thing is the calculation of the phase difference. So the phase difference, okay, in general, the phase difference can be because of what? It can be due to path difference, okay, and or
ये सेंटर है, ये सेंटर पे स्मार्ट बोर्ड लगा दिया सर, सेंटर पे ये तो स्मार्ट बोर्ड है.
yes, is there some question, beta? Hardik, did you have any question? Okay, people just treat this like a normal lecture, like we are taking online. Okay, if you have any questions, you can just unmute yourself and ask the question, or otherwise you can always send me a text message. From time to time, I'll be checking the text messages also. So you can please discuss any question or doubt that you have in that. All right, so anyhow, so let's continue with that. So the important thing that we are talking about is the calculation of this phase difference, okay, which comes in terms of, okay, it can be because of path difference. In that case, path difference is delta x, or it can be because of the time difference between the two sources, which can be delta t. Okay, so in general, the phase difference can be as a result of path difference, which will create a phase difference of 2 pi by lambda into delta x. Okay, and it can be either plus or minus depending on which source is given the time delay compared to the other one. So it can be plus or minus of this thing omega. So omega is equal to 2 pi f, okay, into delta t. So this is the critical thing, that how to calculate the phase difference in terms of the information about the path difference, and so how to calculate the phase difference in terms of the information about the path difference delta x. So path difference converted to phase difference, you have to multiply by a factor of 2 pi by lambda, and time difference converted to phase difference, you have to multiply by a factor of 2 pi f, okay, or 2 pi by time period. So that becomes the important thing. And you know that once you know the phase difference, you also know that the superposition here will result in an equivalent y of the linear superposition or the sum of y1 plus y2, which will result in a wave which has some net amplitude, okay, into sine, a wave of the same omega and therefore the same k, but having an amplitude, a net amplitude, which now depends on this phase difference. So the important thing once becomes that once using this relationship over here and the information given in the question, we have calculated the phase difference. The next thing is we have to calculate the net amplitude using the phase difference, and that's where that thing comes in. Okay, so now let us see. Okay, so now let us see the next thing, the net amplitude in terms of A1, A2, and phi, for which you have the formula. Okay. And you also have the related phasor diagram, that if this is your A1, this is your A2, and correspondingly this is the phase difference, then our net amplitude becomes this phasor over here, which just looks like a vector addition. The net phase angle becomes this. Okay. So we also have additionally the formula that alpha is equal to tan inverse of A2 sine phi divided by A1 plus A2 cos phi. Now what we should also do here is we should remember some special cases of the application of this formula. Okay, special cases of the values of phi which correspond to special values of the net amplitude. So let's come to that. So from the above formula, you can see that Okay, the maximum net amplitude we can get, the maximum value of the net amplitude we can get, that is in which case, that is when cos phi has the maximum possible value, which is positive of 1, which is when the phase difference phi is of the type 2 and pi, or it is 0, 2 pi, 4 pi, in fact plus minus of all this, okay? Plus minus 2 pi, plus minus 4 pi. So n can be any real any integer over here. N is the set of integers. So when this situation happens, cos phi is equal to plus 1. So we get the maximum value of net amplitude. So the maximum value of net amplitude, as you can remember from even that application in simple harmonic motion we had seen, the maximum value of net amplitude is going to be when cos phi is 1. So that is going to become square root of a1 plus a2 whole square. So that is going to be a1 plus a2. So when this happens, that our amplitude, the net amplitude is coming out to be the maximum value. This situation is given a special name and it is called constructive interference. Okay. So interference is the general term for superposition of waves with same frequency traveling in the same direction. But constructive interference is the special case of interference when maximum net amplitude occurs. And the condition for that is that the phase difference has to be 2 and pi types. Okay. Or we also say in words that when the phase difference is 2 and pi, basically what is happening is that the interfering waves, okay, they are in phase. If the phase difference is of the type 2 and pi is equivalent to 0. Trigonometrically, 2 and pi is equivalent to 0. So we say that the waves are in phase. They are in phase. So that is the condition for constructive interference, okay, which as you can see comes from the general formula, but substituting the condition for the net amplitude to be maximum. So the condition for net amplitude to be maximum only is what we call the constructive interference condition. Correct? So I'm just checking if anybody has doubts in the messages. Okay. So people, I hope everything is going clearly in the lecture because it's a new format for me teaching on the whiteboard. So if there is any problem with the audio or you're not able to see the whiteboard clearly or understand something, please let me know. So I will correct that immediately. And as I get more used to this format, then we'll become more efficient. Okay. And like I said, like, okay, very good. Thanks, Naman. And like I said, like maybe not all of you had the information this time about the lecture happening live from Nerol Center. So in coming weeks, I will make sure that whenever I am taking the lecture in Nerol or Kharghar, whichever be the place, okay, well, some of you are in Nerol, some of you are in Kharghar, whatever. So the students will be informed beforehand. So you have the option of coming to the center and attending this lecture live, interacting with me, discussing your doubts in person. Okay. And those who are not in that particular location or are not able to come that day, you can always attend the lecture online. It's a live stream. Yes.
सर वो नोट वाला पार्ट आप वापस से एक बार समझा सकते हैं सर?
हाँ, मैं एक्सप्लेन करता हूँ बेटा. ओके. सो नोट वाले पार्ट में देखो क्या हो रहा है. जस्ट अ मिनट. क्या हार्दिक, इज दैट यू बेटा? आई डिडंट सी हु वाज स्पीकिंग.
सर निर्मित सर.
Nirmit, okay. Yeah, Nirmit. Yeah, so Nirmit, see what is happening here is that we have understood this part you understood, कि अगर phase difference phi है, so net amplitude will come as this kind of a phasor or this kind of a formula. This is clear, right?
Yes.
Okay, now what we are trying to understand that in this formula, phi can have any value, no? Phi can be any real number from minus infinity to plus infinity. Okay, yes, because sir, the part difference could be anything. Okay, so in that entire range of possible values of phi, what is the condition for this left hand side, that is the net amplitude, to become maximum? Okay, so now you look at this formula, like A1 and A2 are fixed quantities. You know, the waves have a fixed amplitude, but if I can adjust the value of phase constant in such a way that I'm taking any value possible between minus and plus infinity, what value I should take so that the net amplitude is maximum? So logically you understand कि ये term square root के अंदर cos phi जब maximum हो जाएगा, then the quantity which I have square rooted will also become maximum.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So basically to make net amplitude the maximum, I have to make cos phi maximum. So you know that for all real values of phi, the maximum value of cos phi is plus 1. and cos phi is +1 when phi is either 0 or plus minus 2 pi or plus minus 4 pi, or in general 2n pi. Right?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So this is now given a special name, and that special name is constructive interference. So constructive interference, if we hear the term, what do we understand about it? We understand that we want the net amplitude to become the sum of the amplitudes, A1 plus A2. And for that, what is the required condition? That the two waves should be in phase. So in phase means what? The phase difference between them should be of the type 2 and 5.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
so definition
Understood,
of
sir.
constructive interference is clear, beta?
Yes, yes, sir.
Okay, okay. So now you will see
Sir,
that
so-
this is, yeah.
सर सो फिर डिस्ट्रक्टिव इंटरफेरेंस में वो माइनस हो जाएगा, राइट?
Correct, correct. So I'm coming to that. So the next special category of interference is the destructive interference, where it is minimum. Okay, and these concepts that we are learning about interference here, they are not only useful for this chapter of transverse waves, but they will again repeat in sound, and they will again repeat in wave optics also. So it's very important that it has a lot of weightage in your understanding of physics. Okay, so it's very important that you understand these concepts properly. Okay, so this is clear, I hope, for all of you, right? So constructive interference is the first special case of this interference. Okay, now the next special case of this interference we will look at is, like you correctly said, destructive interference. Achha, now in constructive interference, you can also visualize the phasor diagram. How the phasor diagram will look. If your phi is 2 and pi, then basically your A2 is on this side only. It's on the same line. So your vector triangle or your phasor triangle, it has collapsed into a straight line, but with A1 and A2 in the same direction. So if A1 and A2 are in the same direction, that means they're forming this kind of a situation. If you have phi equal to 2 and pi, then if this is your A1, then your A2 will be along the same line in the same direction. So your net amplitude, that's how you can see from the phasor diagram that it's reaching the value of A1 plus A2. So this is the condition when phi is 2 and pi, or we are having constructive interference. Now just the opposite of that, destructive interference. Suppose it's an odd multiple of pi, like pi or 3 pi or minus 5 pi or 5 pi or whatever, then this A2 will become like this. Then this A2 will become like this instead. So in that case, what we'll have is destructive interference. So we are coming to that second special case now. Okay, so the minimum possible value. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, so the minimum value of A net, that you can see will be for cos phi to be minimum. So that is for cos phi to become -1. Okay, so in that case, it becomes square root of A1 square plus A2 square minus 2A1 A2. Now there's one technical thing in this formula, that whenever we take square root of a whole square, it should come with mod. Okay, because this cannot be a negative quantity. So we should take care here that we write the net amplitude's minimum value, or you can just write it as the minimum possible amplitude. So when we write this formula of A's minimum possible value, we should not forget to put the mod, because it can always happen that A2 is less than, or rather A2 is greater than A1. And in that case, we should not write it as A1 minus A2, because amplitude cannot be a negative quantity. Okay, so taking square root of a whole square, it should always come with mod. The definition of square root of x square is mod x. So accordingly, that's okay. So this is the condition for it. Okay, so when this happens, we call it destructive interference. So these are the two extreme cases of interference, constructive and destructive interference. Okay, and the further the condition for destructive interference is what, that our phi should be of the type pi, or you can say plus minus pi, or plus minus 3 pi, okay, or plus minus 5 pi, or in general an odd multiple, odd integer multiple of pi. Okay, so when this happens, we say that the waves are opposite in phase. So opposite in phase basically means that the crests and trough of the two waves superimpose. I'll explain this with a diagrammatic representation also, and then it will become more clear. So these are the two special cases of interference, which are constructive and destructive. But in general, for all possible values of phi, what we should also understand is that in general, yeah, our net amplitude will be anything from the maximum to the minimum. Okay, as phi takes the general value, so the minimum is mod of A1 minus A2. So, and the maximum is A1 plus A2. So whatever the phase difference is, our net amplitude cannot exceed A1 plus A2, and it cannot be less than the difference of A1 and A2, just like the vector addition. But in this case, it's a phasor addition and it's not a vector addition. Okay, so you can just make a quick note of this if you want. Okay, then we'll continue ahead. Okay. Okay. Yeah. You just have to give me a minute, guys. Some reason this is gone. That is the passcode, I hope. All right. All right. Now, again, talking about constructive and destructive interference. Let's understand this visually. Okay, so let's understand constructive and destructive interference once again visually. I'm just checking once more for any messages. Okay. So, we were talking about the if this is a string which has tension T and linear mass density mu. Okay. So this is source S1, which is creating a wave Y1 like this. Okay. And you can see that if I place a second source S2 over here such that the path difference between them is exactly equal to lambda. Okay, so this path difference between them, it's exactly equal to lambda. And S1 and S2 are in phase, suppose. Okay, so S1 has this kind of an equation, and S2 has this kind of an equation. So then the wave produced by S1, if this point is x equal to 0, okay, then at any point x equal to x like this, the wave produced by this will be A1 sine omega t minus kx. But the wave produced by S2 will be A2 sine omega t minus k. Now this will become x minus lambda because the distance between the two sources is lambda. So you can see here that the wave from S2 traveling to the point x, it is traveling a lesser distance. It is traveling a distance of x minus lambda. Okay, so now you can see that between this wave and this wave, the phase difference phi is basically k lambda or 2 pi by lambda into lambda. So they are in phase. But visually also you can understand that if this is producing a wave of different amplitude but same frequency and wavelength, and that wave is in phase, this is how the traveling wave from the second source will look like. Y2 will be a traveling wave like this, whereas Y1 was a traveling wave like this. So even as these waves are traveling, okay, so after a while this has become like this. Okay, and after a while, this one has become like this. But you can see that the crests and troughs are always overlapping. So you can understand that why in this case, what is happening is that, so you can see why the amplitudes are adding, because they are adding in phase. So this is the case where what is happening is constructive interference. Okay, constructive interference is taking place. Okay, now likewise, suppose the source S2, instead of being placed at lambda, it was placed at lambda by 2, then you would seen that they would be perfectly in opposite phase because the crest and trough would have overlapped. And that's why the net amplitude would have become the difference. Okay, so we'll discuss about that also. Just a minute. Okay, so likewise, if we are talking about destructive interference, now so your speed of the wave is square root of t by mu. Now at this point x equal to 0, I have placed my source S1. Okay, and S1 is having an equation A1 sine omega t. So it's creating this wave. Where k is omega by v, omega is 2 pi f. Okay. Now, what if I do something like this, that I place my second source at a point like this? So I place my second source at a point like this. So it is at a distance from the first source of d. So that d is now, you can see, it's lambda by 2 plus lambda by 4. So it is 3 lambda by 4. Oops. Okay. So that d is 3 lambda by 4. And suppose S2 is also in phase with S1. So S2 is also having an equation of A2 sine omega t. So they are both having the same frequency and they are in phase. So now the wave produced by S2, that will be of this type. So that will be something like this. So this wave, so you can see neither it is in phase nor it is exactly out of phase, because neither crest is overlapping with trough, okay, and nor crest is overlapping with crest. In fact, this one's crest is overlapping with this one's mean position, and this one's crest is overlapping with this one's mean position, like this. Okay, so that is the information that we'll get when we write this equation also. Okay, this will be the case. Okay, now in this, when you substitute the value of d, which I've taken over there, which is 3 lambda by 4. Okay, do this and tell me what is the phase difference that you're getting, and therefore what is the net amplitude that you're getting. So even though the visual picture is not giving you a hint about what the net amplitude is, but now when you do the calculation by the phasor diagram, you'll understand what this thing is, right? So just try this out. So the two sources are in phase and of same frequency, but they're at a distance d apart. Okay, and that distance happens to have a relationship with lambda, that it is 3 lambda by 4. 3 lambda by 4. So based on this, now what can we tell about the phase difference, and therefore what can we tell about the net amplitude? Yes, I'm getting the answers. I'm just going to check. Oh, yeah, I know the voice is echoing a bit. I have to change one of the settings. Just give me a moment. I will do that. Okay, people, just work out that question. I'll just have to re-log in. So hopefully now my voice will not be echoing anymore. But unfortunately, I have lost that board for you people. Okay. So anyway, I'm just going to do the calculation of that question. So you will see in that one, when you do this calculation, you'll get this relation that y2 is e2 sine omega t minus kx Yeah, so anybody got this phase difference? You should be getting it as 3 pi by 2, because you remember the phase difference was k into d. So it was 2 pi by lambda. And in that particular question we were doing, we had taken d as 3 lambda by 2. Sorry, 3 lambda by 4. 3/4 of a wavelength we had taken. This was our situation. The wave from source S1 was like this, and the source S2 was placed over here. Okay, and therefore that wave was going like this. So I try to draw a more accurate diagram. Let me see if I can manage that. So this was the wave from my S1, just traveling like this. Okay. And now my wave from my second source, second source was located here. So my second source being located here. So the wave it created would be like this. Of this type. Okay. So you can see that this crest and trough should, I mean, where this reaches the mean position, this reaches the extreme position, that kind of. So it's a phase difference which corresponds to 3 pi by 2. Okay, and you know that cos of 3 pi by 2 is 0. Okay, so your net amplitude in this case is going to become square root of a1 square plus a2 square. So it's going to be like this. Okay, so this is again a general case where where it is neither constructive interference nor destructive interference. Okay, now let's look at some more important sort of shortcut formula and things to do with the calculation of the net amplitude. So another special case you can say we'll discuss about. And this is something that should be familiar to you from vector algebra also actually. If the interfering waves have same amplitude, if A1 is equal to A2, and suppose that amplitude we are taking as A0. Okay. So we are taking that case where Y1 is some A0 sine omega t minus kx, and Y2 is the same amplitude, same frequency, same direction of travel, but with some phase difference. So in this case, the net amplitude can be given by a further reduced formula, which is 2A0 sorry students, I just got temporarily disconnected. Just a moment, let me check everything. Yeah, so I got disconnected, so lost the screen. Sorry about that. Okay, so again we are discussing about the special case where A1 is equal to A2 equal to A0. Okay, so we have the superposition of these two waves. Okay, then when we do the phasor addition, we can further reduce the formula for the net amplitude to this 2A0 cos phi by 2. In fact, ideally this should be written as mod cos phi by 2, but okay, so this basically comes from that idea that if your two amplitudes are equal, then when you are adding this, okay, you're basically getting okay, this kind of a triangle. So you can use geometry or you can use trigonometry. Okay. Okay. So this kind of manipulation you have seen in vector algebra also before. So I'm just reminding you of this. Okay. Now cos phi can be written as 2 cos square phi by 2 minus 1. Okay. So 1 plus cos phi can be written as 2 cos square phi by 2. Okay, so this is the thing we'll use here. So further, and again, there's that concept that you're taking square root of a whole square. So you should get this with a mod finally. This becomes our final formula. Okay, so this is a useful special case formula to remember when you're dealing with waves of equal amplitude. All right, now moving on. Let's look at a numerical example before we finally move on from interference. Okay. So we have again a thread which has a tension of 400 newtons and a linear mass density of 0.1 grams per centimeter. Okay. Now at x equal to 0, x equal to d and x equal to 2d, we have placed 3 sources. So this time we will look at superposition of more than 2 sources creating creating harmonic waves. Okay. So in the first part of the question, we'll assume that S1, S2 and S3 are simple harmonic oscillators. Okay. in phase. So the oscillators themselves are in phase. Okay, and of amplitude equal to 1 millimeter each, and frequency equal to 100 hertz each. Okay. So they are in phase and of same frequency, and not only that, by symmetry they are also having the same amplitude. Okay. So in the first part, if this distance d between any pair of them is given to us as 3.33 millimeters, basically 10 by 3 millimeters. Okay. Then find the net amplitude by their superposition okay, at x greater than 2d. At any general point like this, where x is greater than 2d, the waves coming from the three sources, okay, they are simple harmonic oscillators along y-axis. Okay. So just try out this question, people. We'll discuss about this. Okay. So what I would advise you is try to understand the relationship between phase difference and path difference by any sort of equations you'll write or just logically, and then try to draw a phasor diagram. Okay. Rather than try to solve this algebraically using trigonometry as the sum of three waves, try to convert that sum of three waves into a phasor diagram, and it should be quite convenient. Okay. AC remote. There's a lot of noise that is while it is. हाँ चल मैं इसी का व्हाइट बोर्ड यूज कर रहा हूँ क्योंकि मैं उसको मतलब इसमें माइक्रोसॉफ्ट वन नोट नहीं है और मेरे पास यूएसबी केबल नहीं था अपना इससे कनेक्ट करने लैपटॉप से, प्लस उसका शायद ड्राइवर्स इंस्टॉल करना पड़ेगा, तो इसी का यूज कर रहा हूँ. मतलब लॉग्ड इन मेरे अकाउंट से है और आपका अकाउंट से एक्सेस है. Okay, so people, anybody made the phasor diagram so far, or at least can you tell me what is the phase difference between S1 and S2's waves and S2 and S3's wave?
10 pi by 3.
Sorry, come again, beta. कितना है phase difference?
10 pi by 3.
10 pi by
3.
No, what is the wavelength you have got?
2 meters.
कैसे?
Continue.
Oh, right. Okay. So wave speed is coming out to be how much? 200 meters per second, no?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Just change the frequency to 1000 hertz. No? so that you get the wavelength then instead of 2 meters as 20 centimeters. Okay. So you can solve it using the value also, but the question I meant you to solve, it should have this data that the wavelength should come out to be 20 centimeters. Okay. Okay. Now tell me what is the phase difference you are getting between S1 and S2? So from this data, we will get the wave speed as this. Okay. So convert this to kg per meter. Okay. So getting that as 20 meters per second. Sorry, 200 meters per second. Okay. And now using this and this, you can see that the wavelength for each of the sources will come out to be 200 by 1000, so 0.2 or 20 centimeters. Okay. So now that you know that, now comparing this and this, okay, so you can see that okay, so the wave that is coming from S1 is E naught sine omega t minus kx. The wave that is coming from S2 like this, and the wave that is coming from S3 should be like this. Okay. So you can see that from this, y1 and y2 have a phase difference of, let's say, phi 1, which is kd. Okay, so that is this. Okay, so it is the 2 pi by 20 centimeters. Into 10 by 3. So that's pi by 3 for 120-degree phase difference. Okay. And similarly, when you calculate the phase difference between y1 and y3, that will come out to be double of this. So that will come out to be 2 pi by 3.
Sir, it would be pi by 30.
Okay. So people just make sure that you take the corrected value of frequency. Okay, I've changed the frequency from the original 100 hertz. I mean, that problem is also solvable, but it would not give the answer that I was looking for in this question. Okay, so just change it to 1000 hertz so that you get the wavelength as 20 centimeters. And now try to understand what the superposition of these waves will result in. Why pi by 30 बेटा? अच्छा ये मैंने मिलीमीटर में दे दिया. Okay, sorry. Again, my mistake, people. this is, yeah, I'm just being a little bit goofy today with the values because it's going to take me some time to get used to this format. Okay. Yeah, you're correct. If it had been in millimeters, then we would have got a much smaller phase difference of pi by 30. Aman, that's correct. Okay. So make sure that you incorporate this correction also in the value of the question. This is in centimeters instead of millimeters, and the frequency is 1000 hertz. So having done that, you should be getting this phase difference. Okay. And likewise, you'll also get the phase difference between y1 and y3, those two waves, if you see.
This meeting is being recorded.
Okay, so finally, in conclusion, if this was your first wave, the second wave would have come out to be E naught sine omega t minus kx plus pi by 3. And the third wave in comparison would have come out to be plus 2 pi by 3, because between 1 and 2, the phase difference phi 1 was kd, which was 2 pi by lambda into d, which was 2 pi by, after doing the correction, the value was 20 centimeter, and this was 10 by 3 centimeters. Okay. So this was 2 pi by 6 or pi by 3. Okay. And similarly, now between this and this, if I write that phase difference as phi 2, so this thing here is my phi 2. This is phi 2. Okay, so phi 2 would have come out to be 2 pi by lambda into 2d. So by doing all that calculation, it would have come out to be 2 pi by 3. So that is this way. Okay, so now when I'm calculating this, okay, so I don't need to do this trigonometrically, though actually I can do it trigonometrically also by expanding. I'll show you that method also, but generally the go-to method for doing these kind of calculations is that you just calculate the net amplitude using a phasor diagram. Don't bother to do the trigonometric calculation. So it's some net amplitude into sine of some phase let's say that's some alpha. So to calculate this now, we need to understand this phasor diagram for this addition. So this is how the phasor diagram will now look. So this is the first wave. Okay. Now in comparison to this, the second one has the same amplitude but is at a phase of 120 degrees. Okay. So the second one's amplitude in comparison will look like this. Okay. This kind of phase. Okay. So this is the amplitude of the wave y2. And now in comparison to that, the third one is even more interesting. It's going to look like this. So it is going to get you to a net amplitude of 0, interestingly. So this will also result in a sort of destructive interference, you can say. Okay. Now this is happening because if I compare the direction of the third with the first one's direction, this angle, this should be 2 pi by 3. So that makes this an equilateral triangle. Oh, sorry, my mistake. It's 60 degrees, not 120 degrees. Okay, so I'll have to adjust this phasor diagram. This is 60 degrees, this one is 60 degrees, and this one is 120 degrees. So it will not in fact give me 0 amplitude, it will give me this kind of a diagram. So my net amplitude here should become this. Okay, so you can see that when you solve this, it's giving you 2a0. So this net amplitude yes, very good, Aman. That's correct. 2a0 is the correct answer finally. Okay, people. So hope this question and this type of application is clear. Now, before we wind up with this question, we will do another part of this where we will keep everything else the same, but we will change the timing factor of the sources. Okay. So in fact, let me just. Okay. So we have the same situation. So same everything, speed of the wave is 200 meters per second. Common frequency for all of them is 1 kilohertz or 1000 hertz. D is 10 by 3 centimeters. Okay, but okay, S1 is started from the mean position. That is its own initial phase is 0 at t equal to 0. Okay. S2 is started from the mean position with phase 0, but at some time delta t1. So it has a time difference, or it has a delay in starting position, starting time of delta t1 with respect to S1, and similarly S3 is also starting from mean position with initial phase as 0, but with a time delay. So it's starting at delta t2. Okay, so we have to find the minimum values of both delta t1 and delta t2 so that the net amplitude is maximum possible value, okay, and minimum possible value, okay, and we have to also find what that maximum possible value and what that minimum possible value is. Okay, so everything else you're keeping the same. All three are having the amplitudes same of 1 millimeter each. Okay, but instead of starting the sources in synchronization, now what we are doing in this part is we are starting the sources with a bit of delay. Okay, so S2 is started with a delay of delta T1, S3 is started with a delay of delta T2. So we have to find what kind of this thing will happen. Okay, people, just try out this question. I will discuss this in a minute. Okay, so students, let me see the answers you sent. Okay, very good. Aman seems to be correct, your answers. Maximum will be, yes, 3A naught. And for that, we have to give a delay of, okay, so 1/6 milliseconds, right? And S3 should start earlier than S1. Okay. So actually earlier than can also be converted into later than, matlab, if we want a positive value of delta t, because it's cyclical, the trigonometric functions. Okay, you understanding the point, Aman? Okay, so let's understand it this way. Yeah. Okay, we are also getting, incidentally, we are getting news of all the ranks that your seniors have got in JEE Advanced, and it's some very encouraging news, people. I actually can't wait to share with you. So I'm interrupting the class to just share with you guys. Ashwin Goel, All India rank 34, okay, under 50. Aryan Sharma, All India rank 79. Aniket Borkar, All India rank 201. Soumyadeep, 627. Okay, Nishit Soni, 20. Wait, Nishit Soni has got 2,236, 2236. Okay, more ranks are coming and more ranks are expected. Okay. So it's a very good day for the results. Your senior batch students have done expectedly well. Some of them even better than expectation. So it's going to be your turn next year, okay, to follow on the footsteps and make your way into IIT. Okay, so now see what we'll realize is that we have already seen that this 2 pi by lambda into d, we have already calculated that before. This was pi by 3. Okay, so now if we give S1, if S1 is started at t equal to 0, but S2 is started at t equal to delta T1, then what will happen is that the phase difference between these two will become 2 pi by lambda into d. Okay. Minus 2 pi f into delta T1. This is correct? Okay, because the wave from the first source would have been A1 sine omega t minus kx, because the first source has started at t equal to 0. This has started at t equal to 0, but this has started at a time delta T1. So the wave from the second source, it will be A2 sine, actually A1 is equal to A2, but doesn't matter. Okay, t minus delta T1 minus k into x minus d. So you can see that the phase difference between these two, kd is coming with a plus sign, but omega delta t is coming with a minus sign. So that's why, excuse me, it's like this. Okay, so like that, now if this is started, this one is started at delta T2. So this one's equation will become omega t minus delta T2 minus k x minus 2b. So between S1 and S3, excuse me, this will become 2 pi by lambda to 2d. Like this. Okay. So we are looking at a situation where this value is pi by 3 minus, let's just take this as some, okay, let me just write this as alpha. Oops. So pi by 3 minus alpha is where alpha is basically this term. And this value, this is becoming 2 pi by 3 minus beta, where beta is this value. Okay. So now when we want the case where it is the maximum possible, that's when phi1 and phi2 are both 0. Okay. So alpha should be equal to pi by 3 and beta should be equal to 2 pi by 3. That is the simplest case in which the net phase difference between 1 and 2 is 0, and between 2 and 3 or between 1 and 3 is also 0. So it becomes a very simple case to solve. Okay. So now we understand that so for maxima, I would like my phasor diagram to be like this. I'd like it to be like this. That means my phi 1 should be 0, or in general 2 and pi, but the simplest value is 0. Okay. And my phi 2 should also be 0, or in general some 2m pi, let's say. Okay. Like this. Okay, so now you can see I want this to be 0 and I want this to be 0. So the condition for this to become 0 is that alpha should be equal to pi by 3. So 2 pi f into delta t1 should be equal to pi by 3. So you will get delta t1 as 1 upon 6f. Just a minute, guys. Okay, so from this you can see that we will get the value of delta t1, okay, as 1 by 6f. Okay, so that is 1 upon 6,000 seconds, you can say, or that's the same thing as 1/6 of a millisecond. Okay. And now you can just see from here, beta should be double of alpha if you want that phi 2 to become 0. So beta should be 1/3 of a millisecond. So if I want to get away by giving minimum delay to these two sources, S2 and S3, but make the waves add in such a way that it's like a constructive interference, make the waves add in such a way that I'm getting the net amplitude as the sum of the three amplitudes, or in this case 3A0. So then the time delays given to S2 and S3 for that maximum case should be 1/6 of a millisecond and 1/3 of a millisecond respectively. Okay. Okay, now let's come to the second part where we want it to be minimum. Now we had indirectly seen the situation in which it becomes minimum. Okay, the situation in which it becomes minimum, because the amplitudes are same, because A1, A2 and A3 are actually the same, we can get that equilateral triangle resulting, actually for any amplitudes you could get a closed triangle but the situation would become more complicated. So I'm just going to now remove this. Okay. Okay, then that I've saved this, so it's fine. Now what? Okay. Yeah. So now for the minimum case, so in this case, that minima will be 0. Okay. And I want the phasor diagram to look like this. Okay. So now the tricky thing is that I'm going to give the delay now to these. So I want this to be 120 degrees or 2 pi by 3. Oh God, not again. Yeah, every time I will get these glitches resolved by the time we come to the next lecture. I'm just getting used to this format, and right now I'm not connected my laptop to this, so I'm not able to save the screens from before and all that. This is independently on the net, and every time there is a disconnection from the internet, I lose the data. But anyway, by next lecture, all this will be resolved. Don't worry. It's always a process of getting used to the new format of working. Anyway, so I'm just going to continue from that diagram. So I want the net amplitude to be 0. So my A1 is equal to A0, my A2 is also equal to A0, and my A3 is also equal to A0. I want it to be an equilateral triangle. So that means I want this phase difference between the first and second wave, phi1, to become 2 pi by 3, right? Or 120 degrees. And now I want the phase difference between 1 and 3, you can say. That will be this one. Okay. Phi2. That I want it to be now 4 pi by 3 or 240 degrees. I want this kind of a situation. Okay, so now remember that when we had given those kind of delays, my wave equations were such that okay, so now comparing these, you can see that the phase difference between 1 and 2, they are having a phase difference of kd minus omega delta t1. So that was pi by 3 minus alpha. Okay. And similarly, the phase difference between 1 and 3 was k into 2d minus omega delta t2. Okay. So that was 2 pi by 3 minus beta, let's say. Okay, now we can do a lot of interesting things here. For example, if we make beta 0, okay, then actually this becomes the second one, and I want to make the third one like this. So that's one option we can do. Okay, so instead of phi1 as this and phi2 as this, we can keep phi1 as 240 by adjusting alpha, and we can keep, so we can, that is one option we have. Okay, so one case of achieving this we can do is this, that we take beta equals to 0. So that means I don't give this one any delay. Delta T2 is 0. So minimum delay is 0. Okay. So our phi2 becomes 2 pi by 3. Okay. But in that case, I will want phi1 to become equivalent to 4 pi by 3. And remember, alpha cannot be a positive quantity here because I'm keeping the time positive. Oh no. So you just have to refer to the recording later for all those exact values. So you can see that phi1 was pi by 3 minus alpha, where alpha was omega delta t1, and phi2 was 2 pi by 3 minus beta, where beta was omega delta t. So I can always have a situation like this where this is from the first wave, okay, and this one is actually from the second wave. This is from y3. This is not from the second, this is from the third wave, because I have taken phi3 as 2 pi by 3. Okay, so this is a condition where beta will become 0. So phi3 is equal to 2 pi by 3. Okay. Then what should happen to complete my destructive interference or zero amplitude? My phi2 should be like this. Okay. Or rather my phi1 should be like this. So how much phi1 should be? Okay, so let's compare these two phasors. The one coming from the first one and the second one. Let's compare them again. So what I want is this, that if this is the phasor from the first one, okay, in comparison, where is this one? This one is here. Okay. This is the one coming from the second one. Okay. So I want that this whole angle should be 4 pi by 3 or 240 degrees. You know? So that means it's equivalent to, so my phi1 equal to this is equivalent to my minus of how much now? So 4 pi by 3 or 240 degrees is equivalent to a negative value of 120. So that's minus pi by 3. So minus 2 pi by 3. Okay. So now I can see what should alpha be. Okay. I want pi by 3 minus alpha to be minus 2 pi by 3. So alpha should be how much? Alpha should be pi. Right. So that means delta T1 should be half the time period, or it should be half a millisecond. Okay. So this is the first case. Okay. Case 1, I want net amplitude to become 0. So for that, what I'm doing is this one I'm giving a delay of 0.5 milliseconds. Okay, so this phi1 is becoming minus 2 pi by 3 for me, which is equivalent to plus 4 pi by 3. Okay, and I'm giving delta T2 0. So phi2 is becoming 2 pi by 3. Okay, so this situation is now corresponding to this phasor diagram. Okay, so this completes interference. Okay, so I know we are almost out of time, but I think you have no real time constraints today because it's otherwise a school holiday. So I'm just going to take a few minutes extra because I want to also get into the second part of superposition of waves, which will be the standing waves, so that you can get started with those questions also before next week's lecture. Okay, so I don't think it should be a problem, right? If we do at least up to, let's say, 12:15 or so, you don't have a lecture at 12:30 or anything. All right, we're just going to take few minutes extra so that we can look at the next portion. So superposition of waves, the second type of superposition we'll look at now. So the first case was interference. Now the second case of superposition look at is the creation of what is called standing waves. And we'll understand very soon why the name is standing waves, or it can also be called stationary waves. Because they're not traveling. The wave shape is not traveling like in the case of a propagating wave. Okay, so they have a different equation compared to the equations we have studied earlier. Okay, you'll just have to bear with me, people. Ah, good. At least we have not lost the white screen. We have lost the white screen. Anyway, so standing waves or stationary waves. Let's understand about this. Okay. So this happens when one way of creating standing waves happens when there is superposition of waves. And remember, we are still talking everything about transverse waves right now. We will come to sound waves. Okay, transverse Okay, so people, unfortunately, there's an internet outage at this end. So we will have to conclude the lecture. I'll pick up standing waves in the next lecture. I'll try to keep 2 sessions in the coming week also so that we can finish waves as soon as possible. So that's it for today's session, people. Wish you all the best. Hope you understood the interference cases. Okay. And have a nice day. And
Thank you, sir.
yeah, best wishes for Bijoya Dashami for today. Dashera Bijoya Dashami.
Same to you, sir.
Same to you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Same to you, sir.
Bye.
Sir.